AI in criminal investigations, promise, power, and constitutional limits. Artificial intelligence is now deeply embedded in policing and investigations. It analyzes DNA mixtures, matches fingerprints, and scans faces in massive databases. It also detects gunshots. It flags suspicious financial activity, as well as helps sort through body camera footage and 911 calls. But here is the key point: AI is a tool. It is not a decision maker, and in the American criminal justice system, it cannot replace constitutional judgment. With that, it's important to recognize that technology has an air of infallibility that we cannot afford in criminal justice. Today, I want to walk you through two major areas where AI matters. The front end, focusing on criminal investigations, and the back end, that is, in the courtroom. First, we'll talk about the front end, AI in criminal investigations. Let's start with the promise. AI can absolutely improve investigations. Probabilistic genotyping software helps interpret complex DNA samples that contain mixtures from multiple people. In the past, those samples might have been too confusing to interpret reliably. Facial recognition systems can compare a still image from a surveillance camera against millions of photos in seconds, something no human analyst could do manually. And gunshot detection systems place acoustic sensors in cities to detect and triangulate possible gunfire, sometimes alerting police faster than a 911 call. Departments also use AI tools to analyze financial documents in fraud investigations, transcribe and translate 911 calls in real time, blur body camera footage quickly for public release, and identify license plates across large geographic areas. Those are real efficiencies. It's important to recognize that some agencies report improved clearance rates when certain technologies are used. So this is not an anti-AI discussion. But here's the constitutional pivot. None of these systems are perfectly accurate. And in criminal justice, even small error rates matter. Because error doesn't just mean the software crashed. Error can mean someone is stopped, arrested, detained, and charged. And that's just the beginning of the process. It's important to remember that many don't have the resources to fend off such powerful accusations by the state. Let's review an example with facial recognition misidentification. Research from federal testing has shown that some facial recognition systems produce higher false positive rates for women and people of color. What does that mean in practice? It means the system is more likely to incorrectly say, "This is the person," when it is not. There have been documented cases of individuals being wrongfully arrested after facial recognition systems misidentified them. In some instances, that AI match became the centerpiece of the investigation. Now imagine you are the officer. You receive a system-generated match. It feels scientific. It feels objective. But what happens psychologically? You may begin looking for evidence that confirms the match rather than evidence that challenges it. That is called automation bias. The technology doesn't force you to act, but it shapes your perception. And that's where discretion quietly shifts. Now consider gunshot detection technology. Sensors placed around a city detect loud noises and use algorithms to determine whether the sound is likely gunfire. In theory, this helps police respond quickly and possibly save lives. But studies in some jurisdictions have found high false positive rates, alerts that do not lead to confirmed gun-related crimes, and officers treating alerts as additional justification for stops. Here's the constitutional issue: an algorithmic alert is not probable cause. It is not automatically reasonable suspicion. But if officers begin relying on it as if it were infallible, that changes how Fourth Amendment protections operate in practice. AI does not eliminate discretion. It relocates it upstream into code. Here, engineers design thresholds. Vendors set parameters. Data quality shapes outputs. And officers on the street respond to those outputs. That shift matters, particularly in matters of justice and constitutional protections. Another major problem involves the quality of samples or evidence that AI systems are analyzing. This is a multi-part problem. Many AI systems are trained on fallible data, and then that trained system is being used to produce results that actors use to inform or make decisions. The result may be biased simply as a result of relying on biased training data. In criminal justice, this is highly problematic. Further, if crime scene samples, including photos, are low quality, the software interpreting it may produce unreliable results. For example, if a facial recognition database overrepresents certain populations, outputs may skew. Or, if evidence is incomplete, the algorithm cannot magically fix that. Technology amplifies the quality of input data, whether that quality is high or low. That's not a moral argument. That's a systems argument. How does someone defend themselves against that? Often, AI system algorithms are owned by companies claiming their technology is proprietary and protected information. It begs questions. How do you cross-examine that? Who is responsible for error? Where is the liability? This is not only the problem of garbage in, garbage out, it implicates displacing accountability for anticipated error and incorporating such systems in a setting of due process. Now let's move to what happens when AI-generated evidence enters court. This is where constitutional safeguards become critical. The Sixth Amendment guarantees defendants the right to confront witnesses. Due process requires that prosecutors disclose evidence. Judges are supposed to evaluate whether scientific and technical evidence is reliable before admitting it. But here's the complication, which was previously alluded to. Many AI systems operate as black boxes. The defense may not have access to the source code, the training data, the validation testing, the algorithm's error rates. Companies often argue that their systems are proprietary trade secrets. But here's the constitutional tension. If a defendant cannot meaningfully examine how a system works, how can they challenge its reliability? That is not a technical question. That is a constitutional one. Some legal scholars suggest protective orders as a compromise, allowing defense experts to review systems under strict confidentiality. That's a governance solution. But the bottom line is that transparency remains essential. Here's something many people, including students, often overlook. More than about 95% of criminal cases end in plea bargains. That means most evidence is never tested through cross-examination at trial. If AI tools are flawed, insufficiently validated, or misunderstood, those problems may never be exposed in court. A defendant may plead guilty without ever challenging the technology used in their case. That is why disclosure policies matter. As an aside, vetting these systems for accuracy has to include something more than internal corporate testing. These may be fine for presenting an AI tool for sales. However, these accuracy levels are very different than the level of accuracy demanded in our legal system. Another concern that needs to be considered surrounds the evidence chain and disclosure issue. This issue is seldom discussed but also is implicated because of ethics and constitutional mandates. It involves a central question. If AI was used anywhere in the investigative chain, even if traditional evidence was later gathered, should that use be disclosed? From an ethical standpoint, yes. This is because constitutional protections do not disappear simply because evidence is reconstructed or supplemented. Data does not lose its constitutional character because it changes hands. This is yet another issue that often gets skirted because of our reliance on plea bargaining and lack of resources by the defense. So, what's the bottom line? Artificial intelligence offers powerful investigative tools. It can increase efficiency, help solve crimes, as well as assist overburdened departments. But the American criminal justice system is not designed to maximize efficiency at any cost. It is designed to balance safety against liberty. AI must be independently tested, be transparent, be disclosed, be understood by those using it, be subject to adversarial scrutiny. It's important to remember that technology is not the problem. However, unexamined technology is. And in criminal justice, legitimacy depends not just on catching offenders but on preserving constitutional safeguards while doing so. AI technology in criminal justice and criminology will continue to evolve. Never stop asking questions, and as always, do your own research. As a place to start, sources are provided in the description. Remember to subscribe, like and follow CrimSavvy for more information about criminology and criminal justice topics. It's free.